As you've been programming in Blueprint a little bit, you've run into these different types of variables. And I don't mean the different types here like boolean or byte or integer or float. I mean the one next to it. Singles, arrays, sets, and maps. Hopefully by this point we're all familiar with just single variables, a variable just holding some amount of information. And you're probably familiar with arrays. It's just a single variable, but just more of them, all categorized in one place under one location. You can add as many of these as you want and give them all different values. It can be variable in length. We can have 3 indexes. We can have 300 indexes in an array. But then we get into sets and into maps. And here things get a little bit more muddy. What are these all about? And that's what I want to take a look at today. So let's get started with sets. I've got a set made here. And a set is like an array that has a built-in protection against duplicate elements. So if we have an array here, you might be familiar with the add unique into an array, as opposed to just adding something. If I add something that already exists with this top node into an array, it's going to have that thing in the array twice. Whereas add unique is going to first check, hey, does this entry already exist in this array? And if so, I'm not going to add it. A set just always does that. So if this set, for instance, is weapons, and I say I have a sword, and I have a spear, and I have a gun, and I have, let's see, a sword. Oh no, I already have a sword. It's not going to let me add it twice. If I then duplicate this into, let's call this set 2 real quick. And this set would contain armor. So let's say helmet, very badly misspelled, a chainmail, a shield, whatever. These can now be 2 different sets, and we can do some combination or essentially Boolean operations between these 2 sets. So we can check the difference between the 2 sets, and that takes in both of the sets and outputs one new set that contains everything that is different between these 2 sets. In this case, well, everything between these 2 is different because they have no overlapping entries. If they both had an entry, let's say, I don't know, arrow, I don't know why arrows would be in your armor set, but let's say that it accidentally slipped in, or 2 sets that for other reasons have overlapping entries. This difference is going to output the combination of both of these sets, except for arrow. It's not going to contain arrow at all, because arrow is contained in both of them, and as such is not a difference between both of these sets. We also have the opposite of that, intersection. This is going to output a set with only elements that exist in both of the input sets. Of course, since it is a set and can only ever contain any entry once, it's going to contain, in this case, arrow only once, because it just cannot contain it twice to begin with. This lets you check, hey, between these 2 sets, I want to get only the thing that exists in both of them. And then finally, we of course just have a very simple union, and that's just going to contain everything from both of these sets, still with the limitation of anything that appears in both of them is only going to appear once in this one. And with the set, we can very simply still get an item by index, the very same way that we would with an array. We can get the last item index, so we can see how big the set is. So they function very much like arrays, but just with some built-in protection and some very useful merging functionality that lets us merge these sets in a couple of different ways. They're very nice. I personally end up not using them that much. I generally just stick with arrays, but they're definitely still good to keep in mind and to make use of sometimes. Now, the real thing that I want to talk about here is maps, because I see a lot of people not quite grappling with what these are and how they work. Blueprint also doesn't make it super obvious. When you make a variable of any type, let's say integer here, and we turn it into a map, we get a second type, first and foremost, that we need to fill in. Let's say that we want to get a string out of it. But this implies something slightly wrong, because what this implies is that we are storing an integer alongside something else. And that's not really how maps work. A map, or in a lot of other programming languages called a dictionary, uses one value to look up another value. Usually we call these key value pairs. The value being the thing on the right here, and the key being the thing on the left. The key, in this case integer, isn't really something that we store for the sake of storing it. All that the integer here does is give us a way to quickly and efficiently get the corresponding value to it. So as an example, I've made a map here with a key type of int point, which is just a integer type that has an x and a y component. Good for things like coordinate systems, right? Let's say we have a chessboard type level setup and every single one of those has a HP value. We can populate this with a coordinate of 1, 1 and that has 100 HP. And then we can have a coordinate of 1, 2 and that has 80 HP. And you would obviously usually populate this with some code instead of doing it manually here. But we have a bunch of different coordinates and we can give in a coordinate and the map will give us back the corresponding amount of HP that that coordinate on our level board has. So we're not really storing these coordinates for the sake of storing the coordinates, storing the information of the coordinates. We are using the coordinates to get back the actual information that we want to get. So the way we can think of it is in this map 2 that I've made, this map has a key type of integer, which is just, well, 0 and we get a value. If we make this 1 and then 2 and we give that a value, this starts more or less just working like a normal array. A normal array, we get things by index. It just has index 0, index 1, index 2, index 3, and it counts up. In a map, this is the equivalent to that index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. It can just be something other than an integer. However, it still could also just be an integer, as you can see here. You're not creating an array to store these indexes. These indexes only serve the purpose of letting you access the actual information that you want to store. It just might be more convenient to store things in a way that makes sense, like these coordinates being actually stored by coordinate instead of in a long list of just a straight array. There's one other upside to maps, and that is that in very large sets of data, they become ridiculously more optimized. If you have a normal array and you try to find an item in that array, this might seem like an innocuous, very easy, quick thing to do. And in a small array, it is. But what this does in effect is it does a for each loop over the entire array and checks every single element in the array against the thing that you're trying to find. If your array has 10, even 100 entries, and you're trying to find a super simple thing like a float or an integer, that's not that big a deal. But if you're trying to iterate over an array with over 1,000, 10,000 entries in it, for instance, this very simple finding operation, especially if you're doing it very regularly, can start introducing more overhead than you might want to. A map doesn't do that. That's the magic of this key value type combination. Because we can give in with this key exactly what we're looking for, it does some computer science magic, which lets the computer more or less know that, hey, this specific input key, you need to look at this exact place in your computer's memory and you're going to find the value that we want to look for here. So it doesn't need to iterate over the entire map. Matter of fact, by default, maps aren't even necessarily ordered in memory. So it can jump straight to any entry in the map as long as you give it an existing key. So a map with 1,000, 10,000 entries, it's going to still take up a lot of memory to just have that much data. But finding something in an array is going to take longer linearly with how long the array is. Finding something in a map is just a flat amount of time. Whether the map has 5 entries or 5,000 entries is going to take just as long to find. The flip side to that is that Unreal in Blueprint does these days have a for each loop over a map, and you want to be cautious while using this. It's not necessarily super unoptimized, but because an array is always laid out in your computer's memory linearly, it's always one continuous block of memory, looping over it is relatively straightforward because you can just start at the start of the array and just increment through your memory one thing after another. The map doesn't necessarily work as smoothly and as easily as that, and if you're going to be looping over your map, your computer is likely, especially with bigger maps, going to jump around a lot in its memory, and jumping around in memory does take a little bit of extra overhead. So these for each loops, yes, are possible, but aren't necessarily what you want to do with maps. If you want something that you can easily iterate over, that's where you go with an array. If you want something that you can easily find single values in a large set of data, or otherwise want to have just an intuitive way of giving in one type of data and getting out a different type of data, like coordinates to floats, that's where you use a map. And then I guess we also have sets, which again are useful, but I personally don't end up using them nearly as often as either an array or a map. And a very big thank you to all my Patreons. You can see them on screen right now. If you want to help support the channel or get any of the project files in any of my tutorials, there's a link down below to the Patreon page to support me, or alternatively as a YouTube member. With a special thanks to my Cave student tier supporters Oiku and Earl Monseville Erno, and my Cave Digger tier supporters Mauricio Ferias, Cheng the Dude, and Joshamator.